you do. So in these stories, there's a student, and he's in his little hometown, and he wants to learn karate or kung fu, whatever it is. And he's taken some lessons, and he's frustrated by the training, that he hasn't progressed to be a master. He hasn't moved on as far forward as he would like. And he gets this lesson from the teacher that he's been working with, and the teacher says, when the student is ready, the master will appear. And the idea behind the reasoning on that was that the student hadn't taken what he had learned already and actually incorporated it into his education. You know, he's taught to do the kicks and the punches and all these things, but he hadn't actually done what that teacher had already told him. He wanted to go farther, but he hadn't actually mastered what he was told at the beginning. And he's like, well, once you've got the stuff down that I've taught you, the student will be ready, and then your new master will show up and advance your skills. And, you know, I think about that so often in regards to our theology here, and that there's a lot to learn. There's a lot to master with yourself, and the hardest part isn't learning it, it's actually integrating it into your life, right? You know, don't worry, trust the Lord, it'll all be okay, and keep doing the right thing, and good things will happen. All these things come our way that we have to actually do when the moment comes, where the moment is where we're worrying. The moment comes where we're feeling insecure, our ego's attacking, and all this chatter is going on in our head. We're stupid, we're worthless, we're not very good looking. And that's, we got to take the deep breath and just go, okay. The only thing that matters here is whether I'm learning to be a good person. And when you start to master that kind of stuff, then the next little challenge will come your way, and you keep working on it. And the reason I'm giving you this prelude here is because we're going to go through these stories of Exodus, you know, summary of them, and you know, these stories really are our life. These stories are really where we see the bulk of our spiritual work is just so encapsulated here. And so as we go through the stories, we'll just kind of look at some quick run through. I don't expect to spend a lot of time on this today, but just to look at it and some of the key, or a key lesson we can take from it. And so we can be the student who is ready for the next master. So the first story in the book of Exodus is what? Anybody? Israelites are too numerous, and we have the birth of Moses. So the Egyptians are afraid, and they make them Israelites slaves. And we have baby Moses who is born, and to escape Pharaoh's decree of the slaughter of all the Hebrew babies, because one of them was going to be deliverer, right? Moses is put into I was going to say a bucket, but it's not a bucket. It's an ark. And he's put out into the water and saved by Pharaoh's daughter, who raises him as an Egyptian prince. So this is where this is going to become an interactive service. Audience participation is welcome. So what's the life lesson to take out of that story? Anybody? I have one in mind, but it's not the only one. If you have an idea here, we're willing to take thoughts as to what you take out of that story. Anyone? No? Useless story in the Word? Nobody has any idea what this is about? I mean, you can go a lot of different directions with it, I think. Providence, right? You know, you can't outsmart the Lord's providence would be one, because even though Pharaoh tried to kill all the babies, the one that was going to raise up survived and was raised right underneath Pharaoh's nose. Can't outsmart God is a good lesson, right? Any others? One I had originally planned for this one is, in each of us the Lord preserves something of the Word and brings it back to mind. That's what the writings talk about. Moses is a symbol for the Word, and no matter how rotten you get, the Lord preserves something of the Word. I mean, I look at my life and, the times when I was my worst behavior, and, there's still something of the word preserved in me and helps bring you back. So there you go. Story number 1. Story number 2. Yes, Moses and the burning bush. We did a couple demonstrations on my key lesson on this story. Moses goes up the mountain. The bush is not consumed. Why is that? Why is that? Because the bush didn't burn, because love doesn't destroy. The fire of that bush is not a destructive fire. Fire that is selfish fire does consume. And I think that's why we look in the Word and we see that bush didn't burn, because it was love that was there. The desires were good. So that's a key takeaway from that one. Next story. Yes, the plagues. 10 plagues. So we went through the first, 4 or 5 of them in the song. Water turns to blood. Frogs come up out of the river mud. Lice and flies. Oh, what a nasty surprise. Then 5 more plagues would then be done. We've got the blight on the animals. We've got the boils on the people. We've got hail. We've got locusts, darkness. And then, of course, we knew about 5 more plagues would then be done until the death of the firstborn son. Oh, so sad. So sad. Right. Lesson here. Crime doesn't pay, right? Pharaoh thinks he's smarter than God, is what I came up with. And I think that's what the writings basically bring up here, is that Pharaoh is, Pharaoh is this representation of the king of Egypt. And Egypt, in the word, has this representation of worldly knowledge. You go to Egypt all throughout the Bible to learn about the world. And Jesus goes to Egypt, and Egypt's a fine place to go to for a time. But you just got to get yourself back out and make sure the worldly knowledge you have gets translated into you becoming a spiritual person. So it's that's the representation. So Pharaoh, he gets in all sorts of trouble with the children of Israel because he tries to outdo God, and it doesn't work. So there we go. There's that story. So yeah, the crime is being smarter, trying to be smarter than God, and the punishment are the plagues. He should have just let the people go. Next miracle. Oh yes, the parting of the Red Sea. Excellent one there. I like this one quite a bit. This might be my favorite takeaway in the book of Exodus, because here they go marching off. Pharaoh comes along with his horsemen, and they all go, "Oh no, Moses, did you not enough graves in Egypt that you brought us out in the desert to die? You should have taken us back. We didn't want to leave Egypt." Yeah, right. What is, when Moses cries to the Lord, what does he say? The Lord says, "Why are you crying out to me?" And it's kind of an interesting contrast, because so much of the word, it's, why didn't you ask me? You should have asked me before you did anything. And this time he's asking, he's like, what are you calling me for? Handle the situation. And he's like, just go forward. Stay calm and move forward. Take your staff, puts it in there, the way opens. And how many times in our life do we need that message? It seems like the world is falling apart around us. Our enemies are going to crush us. There's no way forward. There's no way out of the situation. Oh my goodness. Lord, you've told me to be a good person, and all you've done is bring me death. I'm going to lose all my money. My business is going to go out. This is not working at all. Everything you said, is it because you couldn't have killed me a while ago? Stay calm and move forward. Stay calm and move forward. Boy, there are a lot of people, I think, could use to integrate that one into their life. Just calm down. And this is where it gets fun. We get into the desert. They go, the recitation we just had. They believed in Moses because of that miracle. But yet they get in the desert and they're hungry. And they say, Lord provides the manna. What is that? That's the rough translation from the Hebrew of manna. Manna, what is it? That's, the food on the ground. You get out in the desert, we're going from this place where we were in Egypt and we're trying to become a spiritual person, and it's miserable. We don't like it because we have to leave behind the person that we were to become somebody new. And along the way, we're going to feel like we don't have the things that we want. They don't have the cucumbers and the melons and the leeks, all the fancy food of Egypt. They don't have those things. And they're like, what is this? What is this bread on the ground? Give me a break. I don't want this. But they get it. And they get water from the rock. And they get supplied with the food that they need. So, all right, I'm talking too much. Takeaway? Anyone? Anyone?
The Lord provides.
The Lord provides. I know, it's a pretty easy one, isn't it? It's basically what I had. The Lord will provide you with what you need to get through tough times. It's a great lesson. And just so we're also clear, it's what's He providing? The bare necessities, right? He did rain down quail a couple times when they wanted some meat. You want meat? Yeah, fine, here you go. But it's not like you're being rained down free-range chickens and organic farmed whatever, We're going to give you bread. Probably white bread too, right? So yeah, but He was provided. And I think about it in terms of, you're person A. The whole goal of spirituality is to be reborn, and you are giving up stuff, right? When you change lives and you say, all right, I'm not going to care about the material things, and I'm going to care more about spiritual things. You give all that stuff up. There are pleasures you're leaving behind, and so it is frustrating to be those guys. It's tough to give up things that you love. And the water and the bread are pictures of that. Well, the Lord will give us some pleasure, some delight. It's not going to be much, but there's going to be something along the way. But you've got to make it through this process. It's like, when you get sent off to boot camp in the military or some health retreat thing, there's going to be this detox period. You've got to get through that, and then there'll be something better for you on the other side. 10 Commandments. Next one up. Pretty obvious here, right? Pretty obvious takeaway. There are going to be some rules. There are going to be some rules. I like to say to people, you hear this saying out there, just be yourself. You're perfect the way you are. And that might be true for Patricia, but for the rest of us, we may not be perfect the way we are. We're not supposed to just be ourselves. We're supposed to be a better version of ourselves. And so, God didn't call the Israelites out of Egypt saying, hey, you guys are fantastic just the way you are. You're number one. Come on over to the Holy Land. It's going to be fantastic. No, that's not what He said. He says, actually, all right, you guys need to get out of that place and let's reorient your life. All right? We're going to restructure your life so that you're actually happy and not slaves. Because what you're doing there, that was slavery. What I'm going to take you here is somewhere new. It's going to be better, but there's going to be some rules. And it's not because I'm trying to be mean. It's because these things will actually make you happy. Of course, we don't necessarily follow this very well at the beginning. When Moses goes up on the mountain for 40 days, they forget about him. Go, oh yeah, what was that guy, Moses? Who knows? Golden calf. And this is, I think, the part that we have the hardest time with, is that there's a part of us that loves Egypt. There's a part of us that loves the world, right? Isn't that just the reality? I mean, we don't do evil necessarily because we're mean. We do evil because we love the evil. I mean, I think of Matthew, and I think of all the things that I did as a teenager that I shouldn't have done. But why do you break glass windows? Because it's fun. Why do you take a big metal rod and smash a window? Because it's fun. It's not because, I hate the window. Why do you steal something? Oh, because there's some fun in it. And why do you do this? Oh, because it's fun. And that's the problem. That's why we have to become this new person. That's why we're given these rules, because, hey, the person you were is not the person I want you to be. And so we struggle We struggle with the golden calf because we want to worship at Egypt. We want to worship that thing, but that's not who we're supposed to be. So, yeah, I love how these stories are very applicable. So then after that, Moses is given the tabernacle instructions, diagrams, all the how to make it. And anybody remember what the tabernacle is a symbol of? 10 points is on the table here. The mind. The mind. Tabernacle is a symbol of the mind. So you have so we can do this. You have the courtyard as your external mind, where, you make a sacrifice to the Lord. You're offering up your animals. Animals are kind of like the actions and the things that you do. You offer up your life to the Lord, and it's given to Him as a pleasing aroma. The stuff that we do in service to the Lord is a pleasing aroma. We use truth to clean ourselves and purify ourselves, and then we go into the holy place, the inner part of our mind, and the most holy places where the 10 Commandments are. And the 10 Commandments is what we're supposed to have our entire life revolve around. And if I go back to this one, you can see the tents here. So like all the 12 tribes are encamped around it, and this picture, if you zoomed out and you saw all the tribes around it, this is the picture of what our life is supposed to look like, spiritually speaking. That everything is centered on the Lord and revolves around doing what the Lord says, and it's all in service to that. Bringing in your sacrifices, all things that you do, into the Lord and saying, thank you, this is what I'm doing for you. So, takeaway on that, there we go. That's what I just said. It's a picture of our mind. So, yeah, okay. And then we leave the book of Exodus behind. We move on to the book of Leviticus. These are Aaron's sons, Nadab and Abihu. They are consumed by fire because they brought in what? Brought in strange fire, selfish fire. And selfish desires will destroy us, right? Isn't that kind of the takeaway there? You weren't supposed to bring selfishness to the Lord. That's not going to work out very well for you. Now we just have the last couple stories here. This is another good one. 12 spies. The spies go into the land and they find all sorts of good things. And they come back to Moses and say, hey, we can't attack these people. We are like grasshoppers to them. They're huge. Yes, the land is amazing. The fruits and the stuff is amazing, but we can't do it. And, all right. Anybody? Thoughts, ideas on that one? Before I give. Lord will provide. Well, yeah, that's trust the Lord. Isn't that all? That's every sermon is trust the Lord. Lord will provide. Yes. Look, yes, that's true. And for me, this one, relates to it in the sense that I think of the behaviors in my life that I'd like to be rid of. And I think, oh, you know what? Been that way too long. Can't change it. That's what these spies are coming back saying. Right? They go in that land. Hey, these giants have been there for a long time. Been here a long time. We can't beat them. Yeah, if we could, the land would be amazing. But you know what? We blame our parents. We blame our childhood. We blame an ex-girlfriend, an ex-boyfriend. We blame the fact that this is just who we are in our family. This is what we do. My family, we're just sarcastic and mean, and we beat on each other. That's just what we do. I can't be any different than that, right? I just can't fathom that kind of change. And that's these 12 spies. 10 of them come back saying we can't go in. 2 of them say we can. That's to me is how I take that one. Yeah. Takeaway you're supposed to get from this is you defeat the enemies with strength in the Lord, and that's what they messed up. We should have gone through with the Lord saying, yep, we can do it. And as Jen was saying, hey, the Lord will provide. If we go through and say, yes, we can do it, the Lord will provide a way, and we can. And this is our final story of the series. This is the story of Balaam and Balak, which we just did a couple weeks ago. Balaam hires Balak to go curse the Egyptians, not the Egyptians, the Israelites, and the angels stand in the way. The donkey is not going the way he wants him to. The donkey talks, saying, "Why are you doing this to me?" The angel says, "Because you're not supposed to be going this way, but if you're going to go, you can only do what I say." So he goes ahead, and Balak has brought him there to curse them. Of course, he can't, because the Lord says there's no bad omen for them. So he says nothing against them, and the king is very upset because he was brought to curse and he can only bless. All right. Yes. I could not go against the Lord's order and do anything on my own accord, whether for good or ill. All right, your last chance to participate. Any ideas? Yes? No? Maybe? Nope? Okay. Well, I think what? You got one?
Do what the Lord says.
Yeah. Well, yeah, I mean, if we order our lives according to the Word, you'll be protected from your enemies. And I think it's worth noting here that this is talking about a spiritual thing. Like, we've found plenty of Christians over the course of history who have not felt physical protection. But at the same time, your souls cannot be injured by the physical actions of others. And I think that's what we're supposed to take away from this. You live according to the Word, you do what the Lord says, no matter, what's going on around you, your soul cannot be injured, no matter what they might do to you physically. So there you have it. That's a summation. And I think as we go through life, we could just focus on these stories. We could just forget the rest of the Word, really, and focus on these stories and go, yep, this is the journey. Master this journey and realize, like, if we gave these stories the weight and the authority in our life that they deserve, then we'd see the pitfalls coming our way. We'd say, okay, I was this person, I'm going to get out of that place, I'm going to be over here. And you can know in advance the desert's coming. Oh yeah, right, I know this is going to be painful. I know it's going to be hard to change. I'm not going to like it, but I'm going to send my spies off to that land, and I'm going to take the shortcut. Instead of wishy-washy going back and forth between, I want to be this new person. No, I'm not. Yes, I am. No, I'm not. It's just toiling in the desert as we struggle to become the new person. Just say, you know what? Day one, we're starting this. We're just going to do it. I'm going to do it without fear, without reservation. I know that people are going to try to curse me, but if I keep doing what's right, it'll be okay. The land is great, and those enemies are big, but I got the Lord on my side. It'll all work out if I just stay calm and move forward. These stories are our life. These stories are our life. So I hope that's something that can kind of sit down and sink in, and so that when you feel like your life isn't making the progress that you'd like it to have, you can be like that kung fu student and just be told, when the student is ready, the master will appear. So when you're ready for that next level, these stories will kind of pop back up into your life and go, oh yeah, like Moses, right, okay, I've been suffering. Now that piece of the Word that I've been waiting for all that time, it's born, and Pharaoh can't kill him. It can't be done. Amen.